are coming to you from the Southern Kentucky Festival of Books here at the Carol Nicely Center in Bowling Green. Joining us now, interesting, boy, I wish we had another hour or two. Victoria Schwab joins us.
Hi
You
there.
are indeed a master of monsters.
I am. I just got my degree in medieval art history from the University of Edinburgh. So I study
In
depictions of
Scotland.
monstrosity in medieval art. Yeah, in Scotland.
Who, what I really want to say is, who does that? But that's amazing, and you did
Yeah.
it because you love
I
this
honestly,
sense-
I love art history and I love monsters. It's a theme I study. It's a theme I explore in all of my books. The kind of the line between human and monster. And so I really wanted to go live in Scotland for a year, and I decided to apply while I was writing books. I was writing 3 books that year, and I ended up getting in. And so I went to Scotland for a year. I wrote my next 3 books, and I got my degree.
Wow, talk about an overachiever, huh? So the line between monsters and humans, it exists?
Yeah, I like to, I think it's a very porous line, definitely, but I think all of my books are about the lines, you know, whether they're life and death, human and monster, good and evil. They're things that I like to explore. They're kind of the core question of all of my books.
And you know, when we think of monsters, unless you're MD Payne, who was on the show earlier, it's often scary. You know, people don't want to go there.
Yeah.
But I don't think monsters always have to be scary.
Oh no,
do
the
they?
monsters are my protagonists. The monsters, really, I look at, I have a book coming out called The Savage Song, and one of the main characters is a monster, and it's about what it means to be monstrous in a world. A lot of times my antagonists are less monstrous than my protagonists, you know?
Oh, indeed. And you know, when we conjure the image of monster, you know, that could be very different to each individual.
Definitely.
So when you're writing and you're hoping to spur one's imagination, how far can you go in describing that monster?
Well, I definitely think that less is more. I think what you don't see or what's left to the imagination is far more frightening or unsettling, I would say. A lot of my monsters look just like you and me. They look like normal people. The monstrosity is on the inside. And so I really am much more fascinated by interior monstrosity than external monstrosity.
So, where do you go from here? Like, is there a place at which you then begin to create an alternate world that is inhabited by all of these monsters?
You know, I don't know. Each book has kind of been its own exploration of that line between. And originally, my humans were my good guys and my monsters were my bad guys in my very first book. And now, as I'm in book 10 and 11 and 12, my monsters are my good guys and my humans are my bad guys. So I think I've been exploring that shift in my own books. And I think it's been a fun journey to get to see. And so I think I'm just going to end up in this gray space where everything is ambiguous and you can't trust the humans to be human and the monsters to be monstrous. You don't know. You have to read and find out.
So for the reader, it's kind of an adventure, and it's also a question of trust.
Yeah, I think a lot of times my readership seems to go into my books unsure of who's going to turn out to be the good guy. And I love that. It's kind of how people go into a George R.R. Martin book unsure of who's going to survive. People go into my books unsure of who they're supposed to root for. And I like watching that shift over the course of the book from someone thinking that a character is evil to someone rooting for them and vice versa.
You know, your readers, I'm sure, are curious as they're watching this. How do you go about writing? You talk about a calendar system. What are you that regimented in your writing?
I am. I'm pretty regimented because I have this reputation in the industry for being a very fast writer because I'm quite prolific. I write 2 to 3 books a year, but I'm actually a very slow writer. I probably don't clock more than 1,000 words a day. So the trick is to write 1,000 words almost every day. You know, and so I have a system in which I measure every 500 words that I write. I have to keep a calendar and some stars because it turns out that stars are not just for kindergartners. Like star stickers are incredibly efficient ways to measure yourself.
Motivators.
Exactly, and
Motivators.
I'm quite I'm a visual person, obviously, and so I'm driven by the sight of that. And I think as writers, we can lose time very easily. We can lose track of it, and all of a sudden it's like, where did that month go? Because you're in this world and you're writing, and having daily accountability is very, very important, I think, in order to get to the end. I think a lot of people never get to the end of their projects because they lose track of themselves and their work along the way.
Victoria Schwab, you are fascinating, and I could go on and chat with you for another 3 hours, but leave us with some words of wisdom. What would you want your readers to know about you that maybe they don't know?
Oh, goodness. That I have an adversarial relationship with fear. And it's one of the reasons that I've gotten as far as I've gotten is when I think that I might not be able to do something, it's what pushes me to do it. And whether that's having a fear of heights and so I jumped out of an airplane, or whether that's having a fear of not being able to write a book when I was in college and so I sat down and I wrote the book. And so I think having an adversarial relationship with fear can be a very, very good thing.
Thank you so much
Of
for
course,
joining us.
thank you.
We've been talking with Victoria Schwab from Outside the Book at the 2016 Southern Kentucky Festival of Books. I'm Barbara Deeb. Thanks so much for joining us.